In this lesson, we're going to go over how to create some cohesive icons to represent some of the damage to coral. Okay, so in our Word document, we have that list of those 10 causes of damage. So I'm going to go over how to create 3 little icons for you and kind of just get you started on that thought process. And then I'll finish them up between the end of this lesson and our next lesson. So we're going to just talk about in this lesson how to do coral bleaching. We're going to do the one over ozone depletion. So that's going to be a little bit farther down, just right there. And then we'll also talk about careless tourism, so right there. So I'm going to just drag that back over here. And then we'll go ahead and get started. So I've got a new layer set up right there, and I'm just going to start drawing right on that. Now, my icons, I know I'm going to put all inside of circles. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a circle just kind of right there. And you can see I have that red color selected because in our last lesson, I just kind of went in, touched up that coral that we had been creating, and also kind of modified those a little bit just to be a little more colorful. So you can kind of see that progression there. But with these icons, I want them to be very strictly adhering to our color palette. So I'm going to come over here, and we're working on coral bleaching. So I want the background of this one to be that nice navy blue that we've been using. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and create a piece of coral that looks just kind of similar to some of the other ones we've created. It's going to be branching coral, but I'm going to make it with my blob brush. So I'm just going to come in here and just kind of start to create a few branches, just kind of like this, just coming off the edge, and then maybe kind of come down in here, paint that out a little bit, make it feel a little bit thicker. And you know, this isn't that difficult to do. Maybe one of the things I like to do sometimes if I need some inspiration is I'll just do a Google image search for maybe something like what I'm saying here, like branching coral or fan coral, and then just kind of look at a lot of different options and then say, you know, oh, I really like the way that this one has, you know, this element that's branching in this way, but I like the color of this one maybe, or, you know, just kind of get a smattering of a lot of different ideas and then combine those together. So it's very different from, you know, the tracing that we did whenever we created our sea turtle just from, you know, that photograph. So this feels a lot more just like something that, you know, is just coming completely out of your imagination, and you're just kind of using lots of different things to create something idealized, which when you're working with icons, that's really what you want. You want it to be the best representation of the thing that you're trying to show rather than just a trace of one thing. So, you know, the one thing that you find might not be the very best position to show that in. So, you know, doing it this way is going to give you just more flexibility to be able to kind of just get creative with it and make it look exactly the way that you would imagine, you know, an idealized piece of coral like this to look. So once you're happy with the way that that looks, that you've created it, I want to change this from that fill to a different color. So I'm going to kind of just come in here and let's change that from that navy to this kind of nice little yellow color that we have here. And then I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. And then I want to do a similar thing to what I did in our last lesson, just using those circles to kind of create a texture. So I'm going to come in here. Let's just zoom in a little bit to get closer. And I'll just draw a circle just kind of right there. And then hold Alt down to kind of duplicate that several times. We'll use our Align panel to go ahead and stack those up. And that's probably not quite enough. So just with all of those selected, hold Alt, hit arrow up, and that's going to allow us to kind of double those up a little bit. And I want this to be pretty random. So instead of just kind of duplicating those in the way that I was in our last lesson, I'm just going to kind of select several different ones and kind of just start to move them around, kind of overlap them a little bit, just really get this to look more random than what we had before. So maybe select a few of those and use some align tools on them, just to kind of really get this looking interesting. So I'll go ahead and let's duplicate this again, maybe turn it all the way upside down, maybe duplicate the whole thing, turn that upside down, maybe make this one a little bit smaller, just kind of scale it down a bit there, kind of offset that. So you can see now we have a pretty random looking kind of set of little circles here. Scale the whole thing up a bit, and I'm just going to change this to a different color really quickly, and then I'm going to put this on top of the coral, and then with just everything selected, let's come over here. Just make sure you have those grouped actually before we do this next part. So we'll go ahead and just with all those selected, hit Control G, and we'll drag that on top of the coral, select everything, and then we'll just use that same Pathfinder option with the minus front. So that's just kind of going to give that kind of a little bit different look than what we've done for some of the other coral in the past, and almost makes it look a little bit diseased, which is what we want because this is the icon for coral bleaching. So I'm going to go ahead and take this piece. Let's kind of make this a little bit smaller here, just so that it will fit in our icon, and maybe just kind of position it down here at the bottom. And we've got, you know, this nice yellow color, but coral bleaching is probably going to be a little bit more white than this looks. So what I'm going to do is just hold Alt and hit the right arrow key and just kind of move that over a bit. So it's almost like we have a double of the same thing. And then I'm going to come over here and we'll turn that to that white color. So now we just almost have like a little yellow sort of drop shadow behind everything else. And now what I want to do is make this fit perfectly into that area. So I'm just going to select everything by drawing a box around that. Hold Shift and hit the M key. We're going to use that shape builder to delete this part that is sticking out the bottom of the circle. So I'm going to hold Alt so that that's in subtract mode. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm just deleting everything that is not that blue circle. And it doesn't have to be completely perfect. You can even draw lines if you want to do multiple pieces. So let's kind of come in here a little bit. And that one is really tricky. You might have to zoom in even closer. There we go. And you can see that it just kind of detects where those pieces are overlapping and subtracts from there. So that's going to be just what we'll use for our icon for coral bleaching. So you can see it's just kind of a white piece of coral that's a little bit lifeless, doesn't have a lot going on. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and reuse this same circle. So I'll hold Alt and drag this over here to the side. And now we're going to do ozone depletion. So ozone depletion, when I think of that, you know, I think of the sun, I think of kind of waves maybe, or clouds. So let's just kind of try to create an icon that feels like that has a very vector look to it. Now this one, instead of using that navy background, let's use our teal background. Just kind of make it a little bit closer to the sky. And then I want to create a sun object kind of here at the top. So let's go over to our ellipse tool, hold that down, and grab the star tool. Now instead of just making a star like that, I'm going to create a star that has lots of points. So I'm just going to click, and that's going to bring up the star menu for me. And I'm just going to crank that number of points up. So we've got a lot of points there, and that's going to give me this really pointy looking sunshine. I'll turn that over to that yellow color. We'll just kind of pull that down in there. Maybe grab our align tool, just kind of align those a little bit better. And maybe give this a little bit more room. Let's come in here now and use our shape tool again. So I'm just going to select both of those. Shape builder tool, hit Shift, hold Shift down and hit the M key, and then I'll just hold down Alt and click that piece there, those pieces, just so that that perfectly overlaps with the circle. And then maybe in the middle of this we could have another kind of smaller star. So it's going to give us the same amount of points as last time, but if we make it smaller, it's just going to, you know, look a little bit different. So maybe we could go ahead and group those pieces together. So hit Control G, and we'll move this on top of that. And maybe we make this one kind of that lighter color we've been using. Maybe go up to the Align panel, make those fit together just a little bit better. And then we can use our shape builder tool again, just hold shift and hit M, and I'll just alt drag through that part there and that piece. So you can kind of see that is coming together really quickly. And now I just want to kind of create some really wavy looking lines across this area here that are just going to feel, you know, like we have a really interesting kind of strange looking wavelength that's coming down from the sun. So kind of harmful rays from the sun. Okay, so to create those waves, I'm just going to grab my pen tool and we'll just kind of draw a straight, sort of, you know, a little bit curved line just kind of right across here. And let's go ahead and change that stroke color to that same yellow swatch that we have for our sun. Maybe make it just a little bit bigger than one stroke. Maybe crank that up to 2 or 3 points. And then I'm going to use a tool that lives underneath the width tool. So if you click and hold that down, you come to the wrinkle tool. And if you click and hold that, you can just kind of start to click and drag that right on top of your stroke. And then you're going to get lots of different variations the more you go over and over, and we'll just kind of almost start to create a fractal where you have, you know, wrinkles upon wrinkles. So you don't want to get too crazy or it's really going to start to distort the line quite a bit, but you can see just how interesting that looks and how easy that is to create just by, you know, really quickly kind of moving that across. And I can just kind of pull this over here just like that, and then we will be able to kind of clip this on the edges here in a moment. But I want to go ahead and just kind of duplicate this and drag it down, maybe scoot it over, just so we have a few different variations just by using that same line, so we don't have to, you know, use that same tool over and over and over. So just kind of twist that one a little bit just to make it fit a little bit better. And then let's move this one up. Just kind of repositioning those to fit a little bit better in that circle. And I'll move that one up a little bit as well. And to get these to not really stick out on the edge so far, a really easy way to fix that is we'll just select all of the paths, and then we'll come up here to Object, go to Path, and outline our stroke. So now that's a stroke, a filled path instead of a stroked path. And then we can just select the circle and both or all 3 of those. And then we'll go into shape builder mode, hold shift and hit the M key, hold down alt, and we'll just drag it through those. So really quickly, easily able to crop that out. Now, one last thing I want to show you how to make is the Careless Tourism icon. So I'll go ahead, grab that circle, just pull that over here. I'm going to ungroup that just so we're not dealing with the sun. We just have that perfect circle. And this one is going to be this light color as our background. And I'm just going to quickly illustrate a little backpack. So when I think of Careless Tourism and just kind of reading through some of the things that were written about, you know, what happens in careless tourism is a lot of times it's tourists who just want a souvenir, and they, you know, will take a piece of coral thinking, you know, it's just one piece, but then everybody does it, and then we have, you know, lots of broken reefs, and the coral is depleted. So it's just one of the many causes for, you know, why coral is being depleted, why there's not enough of it anymore. So go ahead and kind of come in here, maybe paint some little straps on the back of this, just so it really feels like a backpack. And maybe do another one over here on this side that's maybe at a little bit slightly different angle. So again, this is a great time to, you know, just look at a lot of different images of backpacks when you're trying to get your ideas. And if it's not perfect, you can come in and erase that. Just get it close enough where you're happy, pretty close to happy with what it looks like. So this piece, I'm going to be using that yellow color that we have. So I'll just kind of switch that over here. And I'll probably go in a moment and kind of tighten up those edges, but I just want to get a really quick look to you about what this backpack is going to look like. And I'm going to be sticking with the colors that I have here, but I'm actually going to take the backpack and make it just a little bit darker. It's still going to feel like it's part of our color palette, but it's going to help me in this next part where I want to kind of create an inside flap. So it's almost like the backpack is open just a little bit. And I'll just come back over here close to where that was. We can go ahead and change that fill color just so I can see that a little bit better. And we'll just kind of pull that edge out there just like that. So the backpack, you know, is kind of open here. That's a little flap. Maybe to make that more apparent, we can put another shape behind here that is just going to show kind of that open edge. So we'll kind of go all the way to the edge on this side. And this piece could be, you know, maybe slightly darker than this. So I'll just eyedrop that, and we'll come in here, make that a little bit darker than everything else. Bring this one to the front. So now we have kind of a nice little backpack, and let's just reuse this piece of coral that we had over here. So I'm just going to grab one of those. I just alt dragged that out, and let's go ahead and make this that pinkish color that we've been using. And I can kind of just scale this down a little bit right there and put that inside the backpack. Let's bring that to the front. And it's a little bit hard to see, so maybe we want to make it, you know, a little bit darker, maybe something like that. Just kind of show it sticking out a little bit there. And then maybe we want to come in and add a few details to the backpack, so you can grab your pen tool. Maybe we'll just kind of create a little sort of zipper here on the side. And we'll switch that over to a stroke. Maybe make that lighter color. And come over here to the stroke panel. We give that a dashed line, make it a little bit thicker. And maybe come over here just to the shapes, grab that ellipse tool. Then you just put something that kind of looks like the edge of a zipper. Make that a fill. So just kind of like that. It's just going to make it feel like, you know, you've really thought out those details. And I'm just doing this one really quickly. So I would go in and kind of refine those edges, just make everything fit, maybe put some more coral in the backpack, maybe have some more stitching examples. But for the most part, this is exactly what I'm trying to make here. Maybe go ahead and turn that stroke to fills, just so it's easier for you to scale without having to change any other options. So come in here, group that together, we'll scale it down, and that can just go right inside of your icon, just like this. So pull that down, and again, shape builder tool, so hold Shift M, hold down Alt, and delete that. And so really quickly and easily, you know, we've created these 3 icons, and I mean, you can create the rest of these in a very short amount of time. And just, you know, think about, what does that word, that destruction word, you know, ocean acidification, sedimentation, what does that mean to you? Look them up. If you don't know what that means, you know, do a little bit of research. And between these lessons, I'm going to go ahead and create the rest of these icons, and then we're going to come back in our next lesson and place all of these illustrations in our document, and that's going to be really fun. So stick around, and we'll talk about where we're going to put these in our next lesson.